This is In the Final Analysis. I'm Jim Yockey.
Welcome to the In the Final Analysis podcast. This is your host and the managing director of Wisdom Financial Management, Jim Yockey. Hi. And I, and I am the media support manager, Kylie. Today, we are going to be talking a little bit more about something that we cover a lot here on the podcast about decision making in your finances, with a little more focus today on trust and regret in your investment decisions. So, when it comes to working with a financial advisor or investing your money in the markets or even just budgeting and planning your life, there's an element of trust that goes into all of that. Trust that good decisions are being made and well prepared for. So, Jim, could you kind of dive in deep into how trust and finance are intertwined?
Well, your question has two parts to it. One is financial advisors, which fundamentally financial advisors are charged with making sure that clients we deal with have trust toward us, that we are going to have their best interest at heart. And I'll come back to that one in just a minute. But the second part of that, though, is uh, that the advisor has to have trust in the client too. Oftentimes, when you're developing a relationship of trust, especially when it comes to investing or in large part probably anything, um, it it has it has an element of an agreement between two parties. Um, and those two parties are the investor and the advisor that's giving the suggestions to them, or guiding them to those suggestions. So the first thing is when it comes to a financial advisor, there in previous podcasts we've talked about behavior finance, and for a very long time, we didn't have psychology being um, referenced in the responsibility of a financial advisor toward his clients. It was just knowing what their financial thing is. How much money do you have? What goals do you have? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. When behavior finance began to merge with the idea of economists, the difference between behavior finance or behavioral finance and an economic point of view, uh, economists always believe in the rationality of people. And along comes behavior finance that says, no, wait a minute, we're not rational people. Humans are known for not being rational and making decisions based upon criteria, based upon presentation, a lot of things. And we'll come back to the idea of trust in just a second. But the responsibility is now shifted that we have to know clients. Financial advisors have to know clients or financial people, however you're licensed in the financial business that deals with clients. Now we have adopted the responsibility, or it's been focused on us, to understand the behavior of clients so that we can make sure that the advice that we're giving them, or the direction or the education that they're getting from us, is representative of their behavior, their typical behavior. For just to digress just a little bit more, the tolerance for risk. We have financial advisors, no matter how you call them. The fact is that they have a responsibility to determine how much risk a client can really take, and then measure that against how much they should be taking in order to meet the agenda or the objective um, direction that the client wants to go in. So now we are uh, becoming more educated about the psychology of behavior, which is a good thing. The unfortunate part of that is that some of the direction that we're being given is by psychologists, which is good, but by psychologists that have never been out here dealing with clients in risk judgment arenas of finance. I mean, it's putting a real burden, and it should energize an advisor or a broker or whatever you want to call all of us these days. But uh, it should energize us toward knowing the client, knowing the family, getting into the fabric of that, and then we can start to make decisions, for example, um, about how we can help more expediently explain things to clients and help them make decisions. So the risk component comes back in here for uh, and it's situational, but it needs to be discussed between the financial person and the client. You have to really know each other. It's like family, how much risks that some of your family members can take because you know them so well. All right, so that's the first thing. And then you could to accommodate the relationship. And when it comes to clients, well, before I come to clients, one of the things that financial advisors need to do, uh, and this will flow over to the clients too, is that phrase that, oh my gosh, there was a president who was the president who had said, trust but verify? Oh, it's Reagan when he was trying to tear down the wall. Okay. So trust but verify. So that has to be a two-part thing. Once on the advisor side and once on the client side. So that's the framework for conducting or inciting or encouraging trust on the part of both of them. But when you talk about the actual emotion of trust, that's a pretty slippery slope for everybody, and that's because it's defined in. I did some research. I've done a lot of research on trust, but I counted 37, 38 definitions of trust.
That's so many.
Yeah, like trust defines a made decision. It defines some reason for hope. It's an expression of behavior for self or others. It's defines a value, for example, or I mean, there are 30 others that we could talk about that define what trust really is. So it's an emotion that has such a situational context to it that one has to take pieces of this at a time. Um, so the whole concept, I guess, it talks about places, it talks about activities, talks about politics. Oh my God, it talks about the expectation, and expectation is a real heart of a lot of trust, because if you have a trusting relationship with somebody that's giving you advice in whatever field, your expectations are very high, not only about what the outcome is likely to be, but also judging how reliable that relationship is. So, how do we, how do we know that um, how do we know that it represents the truth, or it is layering for the outcome. I mean, how do we know that we really trust somebody? Okay. So consider three things. The expectations about what the outcomes are is the first thing that you can consider when, particularly when you're making decisions. You want to trust that the outcome that you expect is going to be there. And so one of the things that you can think about there is trying to separate yourself a little bit from the emotion that is surrounded that. And you do that, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, but um, you ask the question of what is my expectation? I mean, you have a concept of it in your head, and particularly when it comes to investing, but two questions: why are you doing it, and how are you doing it? So the first one, in terms, why you're doing it. Well, I have an objective that I'd like to meet, and I define that. So you actually take a little bit more time to build a concept of what you really are wanting to do. And a a, um, a good person across the desk from you is going to ask you enough questions that they may help you define that. You can do that yourself, but the important feature of it is to define what I want and then why I want that, you know. So once, we all have everybody in. I've noticed that the how, I mean, the why thing is, well, because I want this objective or I don't want this objective. And when you're making those kinds of decisions, you better know what kind of a personality you have. Do you look forward? Do you look forward in order to meet those goals? Or are you trying to avoid something that in the past? And once you have decided what you are, I mean, do you every time you plan to do something, do you think about it in those terms, moving forward or away from something? So the what is out there, and then you're making the decision about why, and then comes the how. How are you going to do it? Each one of those things has an element of trust and behavior in it. So the easy thing to do starting off is to decide what kind of person are you in general. Do you look forward? Are you an optimistic person? What kind of data do you need, and when do you need it, and how do you need it to be fed to you? Or are you the kind of person that just really likes to not make mistakes, mainly because of regret, maybe, but we'll talk about that. But in the final, not the final analysis, but in an analysis of trust and what decision you're trying to make and what relationship you're trying to make, and what objective you have set out there, now you begin to define it. You begin to talk about why you want that, and then it's the how point that also has an element of trust. And each one of those things need to be defined in your pursuit of making a good decision, particularly when it comes to your money, but not necessarily just to your money. I mean, you make that about people too, and it's the same thing. You know, what am I trying to do with this person? Why am I trying to do this? And how does trust build that relationship so we have confidence that relationship is going to work for us? And humans are very, very selfish about their own feelings and their own expectations. So you need to first sit down, take a deep breath, and answer your three questions for yourself. What am I trying to do? Why am I trying to do that? And okay, how am I going to do it? What's the best way that I'm going to be able to do that? So and we'll come back to another part of that, because a lot of our energy in making these questions, I mean, we talk to ourselves all the time, right? So you don't have to go talk to a blank wall or go in a room by yourself. It's going on in your head all of the time, right? So you could very quickly go down that procedure. You have made decisions a long time ago that you're completely uh, unaware of. These heuristics or rules of thumb that we've talked about before. You already do things to make decision that worked for you before. What I'm suggesting to you is that you realize that you have those things, and you don't want to just automatically make a decision without answering those three questions of what, why, and how. The importance of that too, um, heuristics, rules of thumb can get you in trouble real quick. You know, just because they've been right one or three or four or five times, all of a sudden you're doing it off the cuff. And if you remember, we talked about the brain and how the brain works with two sides of it. You got the instant response and the instant behavior, and then you have the one that you think about it before you do something, right? So I'm asking you to get into that second part of the brain and start asking yourself a little bit of questions about, well, what am I trying to accomplish? Why am I trying to accomplish it? And how am I going to do it? And is this person going to be able to help me accomplish that? Or is this the right decision and I can develop it on my own? Those are great questions to ask yourself, and then you can begin to build a better rule of thumb for you going down the road. Nobody, nobody likes regret, and I think we might get into that in a minute or two.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Thank you for explaining some of the financial psychology that goes into decisions in with your money and who might be able to help you, including yourself, to make good decisions. Unfortunately, you're right. They don't always work out. Sometimes we use the wrong heuristic, perhaps. And so when trust is broken, whether that means that your investment expectations were subverted or you missed the mark on an important purchase, could you kind of dive into how someone might be able to deal with that regret or like buyer's remorse that might arise from that, and in the anxiety that arises from that, how might they be able to overcome it in order to build a better foundation in themselves or in their trusted relationship for making more successful financial decisions?
Yeah, I'll before we get to the final analysis, I will give you some easy rules to help you begin to define the intensities of all of these things. But what you're really asking is there are two parts of that. You have the trust that you have the right help, or that you have the trust that you made the right decision, and then you have the trust after the fact, um, you have that trust that's been broken, and it could be broken based upon the relationship with the person under any circumstances, or it could be disappointment because you made a decision and it didn't work out. So regret can think about the time in your life that you thought you had the world's best friend. Okay. And it's okay. So your world's best friend that you had known since the whole time that you were growing up, and you find out that your current boyfriend was um, taken away by your friend. Which that's a simple thing, but it's hard. That's so you had an objective there, you had a friend there, and all of those things bombed down on you, right? Why did I trust that guy? How could my friend, who I trust implicitly, disappoint me like that? Okay, that's harsh right there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you could replace girlfriend or friend with an advisor of some sort too, right? It comes to the same thing. You're disappointed in what happened and disappointed in the person that helped you get there. Each one of those commands self-recrimination. It's not to use the big word, but anyway, the fact of the matter is that we go inside ourselves and we say, how could I possibly have done that? Why could, well, I am never, I'm a bad person because I made that decision. I'm sick to my stomach that I made it. I am blah, 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 blah. Going through your brain is all of this electricity that says you are a real dummy, and you're not going to live through this and never going to be the same person and you're never going to trust anybody again. Okay, so all of those things are wrong. All of them are wrong. They may have happened for the moment in that particular situation, but it doesn't mean anything about who you are as a person. It's it's that uh, little person inside your brain that's really having a field day, bouncing around in there and just saying, "Oh, you are really a nut." Okay, so but when you say, "Hey, that's just not true. It didn't work out," and maybe I'm going to make some judgments about it going forward. Maybe I'm going to try to fix this, and then you get back to what was I trying to do? Why was I trying to do it? And how did it? You know, maybe I need to change one of those, right? Maybe I trusted the wrong person, or didn't trust myself in the right way, or I didn't have enough real information about it. So you can define it more realistically as something as an event or a situation that just didn't turn out the way you expected. We live through a whole life. You're never going to make 100%, 100% good decisions all the time. You know, guess what? That could, if you take it the bad way, it could mean um, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna get any education. I'm not gonna take this as any education at all. I'm not. Maybe you miss some opportunities because you're regretting what you did before, and it bleeds over into a whole new picture of things or events. Uh, that regret operates through your system in a very negative way. When you when you really think about it, though, the the bottom line is, what do you think of yourself? Do you have the capacity? And is there something that you can help get past the emotional part of disappointment like that? And the answer is yes. First of all, you want to turn it to numbers, not don't let the emotion lead you. You want to rank it. This particular situation, I got two parts. I got the person I trusted and I got the event that didn't work out. Okay. So take each one of them and rank it. Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much is this going to affect my total life going forward? Or whatever question you want to ask about that. How could I, how is it going to affect the rest of my life on a scale of 1 to 10? Right? And be realistic about it. Because remember that little humaculum thing's still running around in your head. So if you say 10, you got to say, no, I got to revalue this because it was one thing that happened. So let's get back and say, okay, what is really the impact on me now? You know, how long is it going to take for me to find a different situation? Whatever numbers that you have that you want to set up, and that happens also before you make a decision like that, particularly when you're analyzing an investment or something that has risk attached to it. Maybe you have to, if you rank how much risk something is going to take when you're answering those questions about what why and how. You can rank each one of those, well, 1 to 5 or one to 10, whatever, and say, okay. Um, and particularly, I think if I think about it realistically, I think if you put it just in three things, it's a one, two, or three. One, I'm going to be successful and or one, I'm going to learn from this. Number three, it was really bad, and I'm going to have to get over it, but I will get through it. And two is it's just not going to affect me at all. So one, two, and three. You can label them so that you can think about them in terms of just the intensity at the moment and how lasting that intensity is going to be. Um, we've when you think about regret too, um, it's anxiety too. Most of if you think, how could I ever done that? Well, people make mistakes, and so what did I learn from it? At one point in time, I wrote a golf book, and throughout that whole golf book, yes, it still makes pretty good golfers out of them. But anyway,
It's about to say anyone who wants it. It's called Playing with Your Mind.
oh, playing with your mind says manage your brain,
That's right.
you know, improve your game. But anyway, all throughout that is when you make a mistake, you say, "What did I learn from that?" When I got up there and I made all my calculations of where I was going to hit the golf ball, and I hit it and it went somewhere else. I can look at myself and say, "Okay, what did I do?" And you can carry that with you to the next hole and flub the next hole too, right? Or you can say, "All right, what did I learn from that?" And really answer it. What did I learn from that? I learned that you don't want to hit it over there. First thing. And the second thing is, I could have looked at a better place as a target, or I could have had a longer, or I could have used a different club, whatever. But you're asking the question, what did I learn? What did I learn? What did I learn? Which helps to alleviate the thing that I'm stupid when or I was fooled, I'm too easy, blah blah blah. So the emotion of regret is a killer if you want it to be, or it can be a wonderful way to learn how to avoid those situations and to make better decisions. So it's your friend and your enemy at the same time. Okay. Yeah, you can feel bad about it, but set that aside for a minute and find out why it didn't work and how you're going to change it. What? Why? How? And putting things ranking in terms of importance, that like if you take money, um, whatever decision you're about to make on money, rank it in, because you now know what you're doing, what you want to accomplish, and why. You can rank that why I'm doing this. What's the level of importance for me? Is it a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10? You know, you begin to define things in more unemotional frameworks. And when you start framing things this way, those three questions, and then you take each one of those and you can rank them all 1 to 5 or whatever, and how in the importance to you, and that'll help you get away from emotionally charged decisions and help you eliminate the other side of regret, which is really bad. There's a good side, there's a bad side. I can learn from, and yeah, I can feel bad about it. Okay. So feel bad about it for 5 minutes, go get a drink of water, and let's figure out, how you learned from it. So that was probably a long answer to a short question, but it really is confusing, and it is so charged with the element of trust. It's easy, it's easy sometimes to trust something or someone. It's also easy to make a mistake about that. So just remember the fact you're going to make mistakes. Don't let them warp your future, by ranking it too high I'm going to really regret this one. Yeah, well, that's a five. So maybe you should rethink that one. So if you ever said, and we've all done it, we've said it, oh man, I'm going to regret this. Yeah. Okay. So, essentially, emotions are, we have them whether we want to or not, but they're our emotions and we can control them. That's probably my final analysis right there.
No, I love that. No, thank you for breaking down an easy way to help manage your expectations and your decision-making process. Because as we all know, finances can be just such a huge issue and point of uncertainty and anxiety for so many people. And so having a framework that helps take away some of the heightened emotions of it could be so helpful for making decisions that you feel good about or decision changes that you feel good about.
Mhm. And two things about that, and I know you're going to mention this too, but we're in such an interesting time that volatility and uncertainty. It's hard not to be emotional about what's going on in our world today. But we've been there before, you know. Um, and there have been big issues that have created uncertainty for us. So just live with that, but also, put your shield up and figure out what's going to really affect me and what's not. I mean, yeah, we get into situations these days where even in families, you bring up one topic and all of a sudden nobody's talking to each other. Um, you don't solve anything by talking loudly about what your agenda is, um, or fast about it, which Americans like everything fast. But anyway, so the point is that you have success navigating the uncertainties through discussion and the reality of thought. Your brain is more than capable of analyzing things, particularly when it comes to risk to yourself. Um, so that's one of the things that we need to think about. And the second thing is that knowing more, and we love this. I mean, for in terms of these topics that we talk about, there are a lot of white papers and things on the website that talk about them, at least in brief ways. But the reality is that we're in charge of our own destiny too. And we had it's about the time we said once before you need to grab the rudder and be in charge of that.
Yeah,
Well,
steer
that's
your own boat.
that's right. Sorry. Anyway, but the truth of the matter is we are in charge of it and we can change it. You know, that's what we do.
That's right. And yeah, and exactly like you said, for everyone listening, you can find so many resources on our website to help you not only educate yourself on financial topics, but get in touch with your money emotions. All of that can be found in our financial intelligence resources tab on our website, www.wisdomchoice.net. You can also find more of our podcast episodes on decision making. We have quite a lot of them now in our special news tab. Um, and yeah, if you have any questions or doubts about your financial decisions and you're not sure who to trust to help you make the right ones on your journey, you could always reach out to us by phone or by email. We are education first. We want to make sure that you are as or feel as informed as you possibly can be. to help you make the best of your financial life.
Yeah, I think thank you for what you do. And the thought occurs to me that basically you need to look for a solution analyst or a solution architect. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to start using that solution. There you go. We're always here for you, and there's lots of education on the website. So listen to Kylie.
Thank you. Thank you. Again, you can find all of that at www.wisdomchoice.net. And you can also sign up for our weekly newsletter. We'll send education right at you once a week. And yeah, again, absolutely reach out to us by phone or by email. All of our contact information is on our website for us to be able to discuss how we can work together to help you pursue good financial decisions and your financial goals. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the final analysis. We try to keep you informed. Be sure that you're on the email list and call us if you have any questions whatsoever. Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professionals before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a registered broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Wisdom Financial Management, LLC are not affiliated.